Hello and welcome to In Song and Story, Season 2, Episode number 23. It is March the 17th, 2021. St. Patrick's Day. Normally on St. Patrick's Day I'm out there, and I will be out there a little later on. I'm posting this slightly early because I've got a private thing to do a little later. I hope this finds you having a great St. Patrick's Day festival, or planning to have if you haven't begun yet. And it's a little odd after all these years of performing around. This would be the pinnacle of the Irish time of year, of course. So it's just strange with the pandemic. The second year running to have no St. Patrick's Day parade here in Savannah, or indeed most places around the world. But thank you for joining me. Difficult to know what to bring you on this auspicious occasion. So the first of the three songs I've chosen is a song written by Dublin songwriter Pete St. John, and this is arguably the most popular song to come out of Ireland in the last 35 years or so. It's called The Fields of Athenry, and it's about Angurta Mór, or the Great Hunger, also referred to as the Irish Famine. And it was a period of time from 1845 to approximately 1852. There was a blight on the potato crop. This was the crop that the peasantry solely relied on. So this period of time was very cruel to Ireland, and it was many things. A famine is not one of those things. There were exports all through this period of time. Actually, in 1846, the exports from Ireland were hundreds of thousands of bushels of grain, wheat and barley, and almost 250,000 sheep, and almost 500,000 swine and beef. So it wasn't really a famine at all. Charles Trevelyan was the Assistant Secretary for the Treasury in England, and he was more or less put over famine relief. Much has been written about him, and he's been somewhat maligned. We're not sure whether he was merely a puppet for the government in England doing their bidding, or he was instrumental in making some of these decisions. Anyway, his disdain for the Irish race was notable and has been well documented. He thought the famine was an act of God, and the potato blight, was an act of God and should run its course. Again, a very peculiar period in Irish history, a period that would change the Irish nation forever, and to an extent have a huge influence on other nations in the world, most notably the United States and Canada. The population before 1845 was a little over 8 million people or thereabouts, and after this whole thing was finished, it was reduced by at least a quarter, if not more. We're not sure how many people died. We're not sure how many people emigrated. So it's an interesting period of history. There's a great book written by Thomas Gallagher called Paddy's Lament. A terrific read, but very, very harrowing. So we won't dwell on it too much anymore. It's interesting also to note that Abraham Lincoln donated £10 to the plight of the Irish in, I think it was 1847. This was several years before he was President of the United States. And also the Choctaw Indian Nation, who had only a few years previously been relocated from their lands in Florida and Mississippi and Alabama to a reservation in Oklahoma, where they still are. And in history it's known as the Trail of Tears. But the Choctaw tribal leaders were so moved by the plight of the Irish that they donated £170, and that's over $5,000 at the time. This from people who had nothing themselves. And as a gratitude, there is a monument in Middletown and County Cork to the Choctaw Nation. Anyway, the song is about a young man who stole some corn to feed his family, was sent off in a prison ship to Australia. He He came from the town of Athenry, which is not too far from Galway, on the west coast of Ireland. And as I said, one of the most popular songs to come out of Ireland in the last several years. It's also interesting to note that this song has taken on a new life at sporting events and such, where it's a kind of a chant, and it's sung with great vigour and enthusiasm and fervour. That's much to my amusement, bemusement and amazement. By a lonely prison wall, I heard a young girl calling, Michael, they are sending you away, for you stole Trevelyan's corn, so the young might see the morn. Now a prison ship lies waiting in the bay. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's lonely round the fields of Athenry. By a lonely prison wall, I heard a young man calling, nothing matters, Mary, when you're free. Against the famine and the crown, I rebelled, they ran me down. You must raise our child with dignity. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's lonely round the fields of Athenry. By a lonely harbour wall, she watched the last star falling, as the prison ship sailed off against the sky. Would she wait and hope and pray for her love in Botany Bay? It's lonely round the fields of Athenry. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's lonely round the fields of Athenry. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. Fields of Athenry, written by Dublin songwriter Pete St. John. And it's a hugely popular song in Ireland. This one wouldn't be quite as popular. Again, I wanted to do an old gaeilge, just for Paddy's Day, St. Patrick's Day. The old gaeilges, as we call them, generally story songs, and sometimes they go along ad nauseum, verse after verse after verse, with no relief. But they are just the story songs. And the first publication of this particular song was as a broadside ballad in the 1880s, around about 1886. Author is unknown. Several versions have been recorded. The Dubliners, the Clancy brothers and Tommy Macon recorded a version. And there was an older gentleman, Desi O'Halloran, recorded a version of this. I think Sharon Shannon may have been involved in that. Great version. But I wandered into a bar in Dingle in County Kerry a couple of years back. It may have been the Harbour Bar, I'm not sure. And there was a session on, so I'm singing and carrying on. And I think the songwriter Jerry O'Byrne might have been present at the time. But they did a version of this. It sounded to me almost reggae. I just love the song, an old Irish Camellia. It's called Courting in the Kitchen. Come single bell and bow, unto me pay attention. Don't ever fall in love, 'tis the devil's own invention. Once I fell in love with a maiden so bewitching, Miss Henrietta Bell down in Captain Kelly's kitchen. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. At the age of 17, I was apprenticed to a grocer, not far from Stephen's Green, where Miss Henry used to go, sir. Her manners were so fine, she set me heart twitching, when she invited me to a hoolie in the kitchen. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. Now Sunday been the day we were to have the flare up. I dressed myself quite gay, and I frizzed and oiled me hair up. The captain had no wife, and he'd gone off a-fishing, so we kicked up high life below stairs in the kitchen. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. Now with me arms around her waist, she slyly hinted marriage, went to the door in haste. Came Captain Kelly's carriage, her looks told me full well, and they were not bewitching. She wished I'd get to hell, or to some place from the kitchen. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. Now when the captain came downstairs, though he'd seen me situation, in spite of all me prayers, I was marched off to the station. For me they take no bail, but to get home I was itching, and I had to tell the tale of how I came into the kitchen. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. I said she did invite me, but she gave a flat denial. For assault she did indict me, and I was sent for trial. She swore I robbed the house, in spite of all her screeching, and I got 6 months hard for courting in the kitchen. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. With me to Ryu, and me to Ryu, Addy. Courting in the Kitchen, from a source unknown. What a great song. Let's finish off, and once again thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you're having a great day and you continue to do so. If you're watching this early enough, the Celtic Heritage Festival of Savannah is still out there on the website. It's still live with performances from Joni Madden, Cherish the Ladies, with Don Stiff, Kate Purcell and more. Desi Higgins, Tom O'Carroll, myself. Wonderful stuff. Pauline Scanlon from Dingle in County Kerry. Pauline lives up in Galway now, I think. She's on there. Celtic Heritage Festival of Savannah. Celtic Heritage sav.org. Off we go to Northern Ireland. I used to spend my summers up with my cousins in Gweedore, up there in a small place called Bunbeg. And it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world if you ever get to the northwest of Ireland, County Donegal. And this is a song that's steeped in the culture up there, generally taught to children. It's about a little boy and his boat, and his name is Phelim. And he would take off to the local islands in a little boat, the island of Gola and the island of Turi. So it's a song as gaeilge. I'll leave you with this. Thank you so much for stopping in. I'll be here again next week. Be kind to one another out there. Baidin Fheilimi. Baidin Fheilimi, Jimmy Gola. Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Baidin Fheilimi, Jimmy Gola. Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Baidin Bidag, Baidin Biosak. Baidin Boidag, Baidin Fheilimi, Baidin Tirag, Baidin Jontach, Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Is Baidin Fheilimi, Jimmy Gola. Baidin Fheilimi Fheilimi an. Baidin Fheilimi, Jimmy Gola. Baidin Fheilimi Fheilimi an. Baidin Bidag, Baidin Biosak. Baidin Boidag, Baidin Fheilimi, Baidin Tirag, Baidin Jontach, Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Is Baidin Fheilimi, Brisha Tori. Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Baidin Fheilimi, Brisha Tori. Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Baidin Bidag, Baidin Biosak. Baidin Boidag, Baidin Fheilimi, Baidin Tirag, Baidin Jontach, Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Baidin Fheilimi, Jimmy Gola. Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. Baidin Fheilimi, Jimmy Gola. Baidin Fheilimis Fheilimi an. An old traditional song from County Donegal, the northwest of Ireland, Baidin Fheilimi. Take care until the next time. Bye.